2020 has been the year for the introvert. No social gatherings, no big crowds, curfews, and working from home have all been peaceful bliss for these solitary humans. In fact, the term quarantine best describes their daily lives. They're the ones who seek out the cats and dogs when they do eventually emerge from their hidey holes and venture out into the world. Let's have a look at some of the signs that scream, "I'm an introvert." But not too loudly, and scream it when you're all alone at home with your book and your cat. Welcome to Alux.com, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. If you're not subscribed yet, you're missing out. Number 1. You're good at hiding the fact that you're an introvert. Aluxers, introverts are very good at playing the role of an extrovert. Often introverts are mistaken for extroverts when they've actually been psyching themselves up for ages to pull off a great act at said event. Once the event is over, the introvert will struggle with an introvert hangover, the same as a regular hangover except you feel super shitty from all that human interaction. Now you've done your peopling for the month and you're ready to hibernate until the next event. Number 2. You experience anxiety before making or answering a phone call. Chills, the sweats, clammy palms, dry mouth, and the need to pee. These are all symptoms an introvert will experience when having to make a phone call, or goodness forbid, have to receive a phone call. I mean, honestly, why can't people just send you a text message? Why do they have to phone you? Number 3. You're not completely antisocial, you're selectively social. It's a misconception that introverts just stay in their own space all alone all the time. They do have friends and they do enjoy spending time with them. Being selectively social is more in line with the social needs of an introvert. They get exhausted when they spend too much time in the company of strangers. They like to be with a small group of close friends where one can actually hear the conversation, have deeper, more meaningful exchanges, and if the introvert needs to cancel, the group of close friends will completely understand. Number 4. Alone time is not a punishment. Paulo Coelho said it beautifully. Blessed are those who do not fear solitude, who are not afraid of their own company, who are not always desperately looking for something to do, something to amuse themselves with, something to judge. And Aluxers, if you're a mom or dad, we encourage you to not fill your child's day with an activity a minute. Children need to learn how to be alone and spend quiet time with their own thoughts, ideas, and feelings. The introvert needs this alone time to refuel and recharge before they can head back out into the world of people. Number 5. Being around lots of people is draining for you. Hey Luxers, what's a group of people called if you're an introvert? A group of people is called no thanks. But part of the reason why introverts struggle with crowds is the noise. So an introvert deals with a lot of internal noise, and that combined with high levels of external noise causes a lot of stress for the introvert. It's sensory overload and it's hard to physically deal with it. Introverts are unable to switch off their inner monologue to focus on the external noise. So it's basically like double the noise they're used to having to deal with, and it's exhausting. Number 6. Introverts always think before they speak and are slow to anger. Introverts take their time to accumulate their thoughts before they say anything. They think through every possible scenario several times before putting something forward. That's why, if an introvert tells you something, you can trust they've gone through all the pros and cons and the decision or story told is legit and believable. Introverts do get angry. They're not saints. They're still human, but their anger will be slow coming, which I don't know about you, but that kind of sounds scarier than someone who just lets out their rage and moves on. Number 7. Introverts seek out and enjoy opportunities for reflection and solitude. The thing with being an introvert is that being alone is much more than just not wanting to be in crowds or exposed to lots of noise. Introverts crave alone time because they like the space to reflect and think. There's also a science-backed explanation as to why they like solitude. Jan Graneman wrote a book called The Secret Lives of Introverts: Inside Our Hidden World, where she explains the difference in the brain of the introvert and the extrovert. An extrovert has a low sensitivity to dopamine, so they need more of it, whereas an introvert is extremely sensitive to dopamine, and too much can make them overstimulated. So introverts, isn't it nice to know your feelings and personality can be backed up by science and not just how you feel? Number 8. People may struggle to get to know you because you're so quiet. Look, we're being polite there. Let's be honest, people struggle to get to know you because you're perceived as being standoffish, and your unintentional resting bitch face doesn't help either. We should just get stickers to put on our clothing with a disclaimer, not a bitch, just introverted. But it better be printed in bold lettering, otherwise random people will come too close to the introvert and try to read it, and then, shock, horror, actually try to converse with you. Well, maybe we'll scrap that idea. Number 9. Introversion is not all or nothing. Hey Luxers, it's not all or nothing to be an introvert. Many people are both, and they're known as ambiverts. Ambiverts can work just as well alone as in groups, and they're not uncomfortable in social situations. It just drains them of energy. Being the center of attention is also fine, but only for a short while, and while they like being alone, they also look forward to the promise of company. Number 10. You're likely to work in an environment where you don't need to rely on others. Going into an office environment is generally not first prize for the introvert, unless you know they can go into their own office and put up a do not disturb sign on their door for the entire day. That would be alright. But introverts tend to do jobs that don't require a lot of people. They could be a voiceover artist, a scriptwriter, or a video editor, just to name a few off the top of our heads. Number 11. You learn by observing. Rumi once said, "The quieter you become, the more you're able to hear." The introvert is not quiet because they have nothing to say. The introvert is quiet because they're busy listening and digesting the information being shared. Alright, well, it is possible the particular conversation is boring them to tears because it's frivolous, but on the whole, they're learning as they observe. Introverts are very powerful observers. They don't just observe others, but themselves too. They are their own biggest critic and are very aware of their shortcomings and how to improve them. When an introvert has a reason to speak, trust us, Aluxers, they will. Number 12. Introverts are mindful. The media for decades has portrayed introverts in an extremely specific light, and it's usually negative. Shy, geeky, reserved, wallflowers, socially awkward, and standoffish. All of these are words used to describe an introvert. By contrast, an extrovert gets confident, assured, brave, go-getter, and we could go on. There's so much more to introverts than just a person who likes being alone. We just mentioned that introverts are very aware of their shortcomings, and they have a particularly good sense of who they are and where they belong. They're independent and autonomous, yet their good points are rarely highlighted, which often makes an introvert doubt themselves, leaving their feelings or choices unvalidated. Aluxers, if you often feel anxious or doubtful, we released a great video which you need to watch. How do you fight anxiety? It'll really shed some light on what you can do to drastically reduce the anxiety. Number 13. People have often tried to change you. Hey Luxers, if you're an introvert, you've probably heard these 1,000 times before. Come out of your shell. A night out would do you good. You're so quiet, you don't ever speak. Cat got your tongue? It happens on the daily, and if you had $1 for every time someone asked you one of these questions, well, you'd be in the pound seat. It can be difficult for an extrovert to understand how it's possible that an introvert could be happy. It's not that the extrovert is doing it out of meanness. It's because they genuinely care and want you to be happy, and they truly think that being an extrovert is the happier option. Just remain firm with your extroverted companion, and they will eventually respect your boundaries. Number 14. Peer pressure isn't something that affects you. American writer and lecturer Susan Cain wrote a book called Quiet: The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking, which you can listen to on Audible.com. In the book, she writes, "Don't think of introversion as something that needs to be cured. Spend your free time the way you like, not the way you think you're supposed to." Those are powerful words for the introvert and ones that are taken to heart. Introverts can stay at home knowing there's a party in full swing at a friend's home and not feel FOMO. If they've made the decision to stay home, then that's exactly where they want to be and where they'll be happy. And as you've heard, it's not that the introvert never wants to go out. They just choose when it works for them. They need a buffer or a recovery period between events and gatherings to stay sane and function properly. Number 15. They're mysterious, and who doesn't love a little mystery? To those that don't know you, you might appear aloof and a little mysterious, and that's not a bad thing. As people get to know you and start to slowly peel away the many layers you have, they'll discover an interesting, deep person that has a lot of value to offer. Those that aren't willing to take the time to reveal those layers are truly just not meant to be the introvert's friend, and once you've found a friend in an introvert, you'll have a loyal and honest friend for life. So Aluxers, what best describes your personality? Introvert, extrovert, ambivert? Let us know in the comments section. Now, you stuck with us until the end, of course, we've got a bonus for you. Did you know there are 4 different types of introverts? There's the social introvert, the one that still enjoys going out with a smaller crowd and doesn't usually experience anxiety being around people. They just love being home alone, usually with their nose in a good book. The thinking introvert has a rich inner life and spends most of their time lost in their own thoughts. The anxious introvert struggles with crowds. People, public speaking, and the likes will experience huge anxiety before any of these situations arise. And restrained introverts take time to warm up to new people and big crowds, but once they get comfortable, they're good to go. Well, until they get peopled out and can pull the covers over their weary mind and body. Thanks for watching, Aluxers. We love having you on this journey with us. Thanks for liking this video, and be sure to subscribe to be notified of more.